So I come out to my pump house this morning to check it. I check it every month, and I noticed that once I took off the front door, there was water on the floor, and as I leaned in closer to the wellhead, I could notice a water sound, water hissing from somewhere inside the well casing itself. I think I have an idea what it might be, maybe where the pipe might have pulled away from a fitting, or it rusted through, or something to that effect. So the only way to know for sure is to pull it up and check it out. So that's what I'm going to do. Hey everybody, it's Jason. Welcome back to Frank's Homestead. And so the first thing I do is start taking this apart so I can gain access to it. This pump house is actually designed, it's a 4x4 pump house, and it's designed to actually be taken completely apart right down to the base. So that way if you need to get a well drilling rig in here or anything to blow it out or what have you, you can completely take it down so that way they can have access to it. So you can see this is my pump house, real simply made. Got my wellhead right over here, comes out, pipes over, goes into my pressure tank, and then just comes right down and goes underground. I've got an extension cord that I used. When I put this in, it was supposed to be temporary because we did not have power ran over here for main power ran from the box over here on the wall there. So the idea was that I could take this power cord until that happened, and I could plug it into my generator and then pump water. That way I could pump out of the well into a container for use. So when I built this, I was kind of in mind that 2 people would be taking it off. Lori's not available today to help me out. This just happened spur of the moment. Like I said, checking it out. And so now I got to figure out how to get it off safely without hurting myself. Well, I'm going to use some C-clamps, one on each side, hook a cable to it, and lift it up with my tractor and be done with it. Should be close enough to center, I think. Now that I've got it open, you can see back here in the back some water stains on the wood, and there's water on the floor. I didn't see anything dripping on the pipe at all or any of the fittings. And as you get in closer to the wellhead, you can hear water movement inside there like it's spraying of some sort. I think it's a connector. I do have poly pipe that I'm using. So I think that either connector went and rusted through, or it just came loose. I'm not sure which. But the only way to find out is to pull this, take it apart and pull it up. So of course, first things first, let's turn off the power. And just because I'm ridiculously redundant, I'll turn that one off. And because I'm gonna have to pull this up, I'll have to unplug it. Okay, let's pull all this stuff out, clear this out completely. I'm gonna take my hose, connect it onto my spigot, and drain out the pressure. All right, well that's draining. I'll cut off my insulation. This wire here, which goes down the well to the pump, needs to be disconnected from the pressure switch in order for me to pull this up to find out what the problem is. If you're not doing it like me where you're recording or anything else, take your cell phone. If you have to take this apart and you're worried about putting it back together correctly, take your cell phone and take a picture of it. So that way you know exactly how to put it back together if you forget. Now I'm just going to take off the ones that go to this side. Okay, so this fitting right here is the only one I need to take apart. Alright, put this little container under here, and while I'm waiting, I got all these old towels that Lori got rid of that I can use to absorb this water. Might as well get it started while I'm waiting. Water and wood just do not mix. Okay. And now we're free. So what I need to do is support the pump. I don't want all the weight just sitting on here for the constant time. So I'm going to unravel this. I'm going to hook it to my tractor and put tension on it. And then I'm going to loosen these bolts. This is like a compression fitting top. And by loosening those, I'll be able to pull the whole thing up. Okay, now that that's up, and I heard noise down in here. Not seeing anything wet on the sides or anything, so I'm not sure what that's all about or why my floor is so wet. I did not see any more leaks anywhere else. But just to make sure, we'll go through the whole thing. I find it hard to believe that it'd be enough condensation off of this tank to cause that, but you never know. Okay, so since I've taken this and pulled it up, looked down in there, fittings are tight right here, and that's where it sounded like it was coming from. And then I looked down the well casing, no water spraying that you could tell anything was wrong at all. So it's either much farther down in, which I don't think, because that would not explain any of the water along here. I'm starting to think now that after closer examination, I think that there might be a problem with this outlet line here going to the house. And here's why. So as I'm looking around the casing, I see a lot of dirt, and there's a bunch of dirt along here as well. And so it's making me wonder, is there something wrong down in here that's spraying over towards the well casing, and so it made it sound like it was coming from inside of the casing rather than exterior. And then I know you can't see, but I was looking down along the side here of the well casing, and that soil is sure awfully wet. So is it something going on there? And the best way to find out is hook this all back together, pressurize it back up, get it flowing, and then wait till the pressure tank kicks off, and then I can listen further and do more forensics on what is the problem here. Okay, so before I start the second part of this troubleshooting, soak up all this wet water. That'll help me identify where it's coming from. We'll see if we've got any leaks. Yeah, I'd say we got a leak right back there. It's a pressure tank. Well, it was not doing that when I came out here. So, I'm gonna have to take it apart and look at that pressure tank. Got a union down here, and I'll take that same union and the whole system ought to be able to come right out. So I drained the pressure out of the line again. This line here, before it gets down to that union, has a check valve in it. That's to keep the pressure in the line. So that way if I do lose pressure during a storm or something, no power, then I won't have it all flow back all the way from my house. Must have been a smaller leak, and then when I repressurized the line, it must have caused whatever the problem is to get worse, because it was not doing that when I came out here and checked it out this morning. Okay, let's lay this back and see what we got now that it's out. Definitely something underneath, don't know what. It looks like it's been leaking for a while. So let's take all these fittings off and see what we got. Then we can get this shroud off of here. Well, as you can see, totally rusted. So I'm not impressed with this brand. This is a Utilitech diaphragm tank. And this is only about 6 years old. That's not very old. I would have thought it would last longer than that, but so not too impressed. Looks like it's been leaking for a while based on the rust that's kind of dripping down along there. So I'm not even gonna mess with it. I'm just gonna go in, make some phone calls, and try and locate me another one. Well, okay, only 3 hours later, I managed to track down another 20-gallon pressure tank. Had to drive about an hour and a half each way to go get it. called ahead. They held it for me and went and got it. This is a this brand here is an A.O. Smith. I don't know much about them or anything, but literally it was the only one that was in stock within a 100-mile radius. I called everybody and just either had them too big or too small, and so must be a popular one. But anyway, so I'm getting ready to reinstall this. First thing I got to do is check my pressure. I just verified with the instructions that the procedure was the same, but basically it's got an air valve up here on top. I'm checking it with a regular gauge that you would check your tire, and my pressure cutoff switch is set to 30 to 50. So it starts at 30 psi and turns off at 50. And right now the tank is at about 32, and according to the instructions, it needs to be 2 pounds below your cut-in, which is, so it'd be 28. So I gotta let a little air out. A little bit at a time. And now we're right there at 28 psi. Put the cap back on. Okay, and then we're just gonna reinstall it the way it came out. I'm gonna take the Teflon off the pipe here and put new Teflon on it. And I'm gonna rethread it back into the elbow underneath it and reinstall it. It's really quite that simple. Now, one of the things I'm going to do before, once this is all hooked up and I've got that turned back on and it's pressuring up, is I have a hydrant that's between the pump house and my home. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to flush out the line. Anytime you do something with a well and you're messing with the pump, pulling it up or down, it's going to get some particulates and stuff moving in there. So you want to spend the time to just flush it out. That way it doesn't get into your house, get into your strainers that's on your faucets and clog them up. And you know, that's just the way it goes. Okay, I got some Teflon. Got the elbow in there. You just want to rotate your tank on the base so that way it lines up with your hole here. Okay, I've threaded in my plumbing that came off of the old one. Everything should be in line. Just got to make sure it's in there tight enough. Put my pipe wrenches to it and tighten it up. Now it might need a little tweaking once it's in there. So it seems that after putting this in here that perhaps this base is just a little shorter than the previous one. So I'm gonna have to put something underneath that to lift that tank up just a little bit. So let me scrounge around and see what I can find here. All right, I found a couple 2x6s, so let's put them under there and see if that does the job. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be pretty doggone close. Looks like we could stand to have just a little bit more turn. That's it. That's all we need right there. Okay, I'm going to start with this union right here. Hook it together. Let's do it loosely for now. I'll take this union and hook it together. Okay, those are all done. I'll hook up my power that goes down to the well. Okay, I'm just gonna go through everything in my head. Okay, I've got that tight. That should probably be in there a little more. That's tight. That's off. It's tight. That's wired in. That's plugged in. And that's tight. That's level. Okay. Moment of truth. Here we go. Okay, there she goes. Pressuring up. No leaks. I got my faucet running to flush it out. About 55 pounds. It cut off. I'm gonna have to do a little adjusting on that. But it was working before, so maybe I'll just leave it. Didn't seem to hurt anything. All right, well, there you have it. I've checked the unions and I don't see any leaks. And the pressure kicked in what it's supposed to, and then also kicked off when it's supposed to. I let the faucet run up there, the hydrant, so that way I could flush out anything that might have gotten in the line. I don't see any moisture anywhere flowing around this, or see it. So at this point, it looks like we're in good shape. And so what I'm going to do is, it's getting real late in the day, but I plan to bring a box fan, put it in here, close this all up, and let that air blow in here for about 2 days to dry up all that moisture that got in here. And that'll help with any mold issues that might become a part of that or anything else. So for now, I'm just going to clean up my tools and put the lid back on the top and then put the door back on and call her good.